You guys want to get really, 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 really angry at Chuck Schumer for a bit? Yes, please. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's talk about political violence.
Let's.
And talk about the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Haven't heard of it.
I'm curious. I know you talk to your members. I know you Republicans and Democrats alike. What are they saying? What are they thinking? How do we move forward together?
Well, we have to. You know, we had a good moment a couple of years back where the only way you're going to get something done in almost anything in the Senate, but certainly on this issue, on guns, is for both parties to come together. And I think there are more and more of the more mainstream non-MAGA people on the Republican side hearing of these shootings. We're all human, and we see. I mean, I didn't agree with Charlie Kirk. I still think of that image. I cringe inside.
It's my the leader of the opposition party.
Horrific. And we all have to do more. We all have to do more, and we have to do something real.
Immediately capitulating to the right-wing narrative, by the way, the idea that we all have to do more, as if the Democrats are even remotely implicated in what took place there, you know? Sure, take responsibility on our behalf. Go for it. It's not like your life is under threat. You're like 100 years old and wealthy.
So much we could do a lot. You know, the Brady Law, which I passed it 30 years ago, has kept tens of thousands of people alive. But there are many more things we can do about gun trafficking, about who sells the guns, how they get the guns.
None of these things have anything to do with the shooting of Charlie Kirk.
There are things we can do without impinging on the rights of law-abiding citizens to own a gun. There's a way to do that, and we should do it. And I hope the violence like this horrible thing we just heard about and anywhere else brings people together to do something. But we also have to speak out against it no matter who. So I don't care what your politics are. You've got to speak out, and particularly if it comes from, quote, your side, whatever it is, a leftist, a rightist, whatever.
Yeah, there was certainly Senator.
Right. Opposition party, folks.
To your point, guns. There's a nation awash with guns, but of late,
as leader of the opposition party, Mitch McConnell single-handedly crippled Barack Obama's ability to get anything done, including critical appointments, including a Supreme Court appointment. That was what he did with his power. What do we get from Schumer? Well, I guess it's not entirely equal because McConnell was majority leader, yeah, but his rhetoric was never this weak.
We've also seen a rise in political violence, and it has occurred on both sides of the aisle. We've seen terrible tragedies like the lawmakers in Minnesota shot and killed over the summer, and of course Charlie Kirk just a few weeks ago. What would be helpful?
Chuck's super happy about this, by the way, because it's constantly distracting from how hard he's dropping the ball. Do you guys know that Chuck Schumer is the least popular politician in America? I don't think that's incorrect. I believe he is the least popular. Every Republican hates him, and basically every Democrat hates him. He's all the people out there, he is the least popular.
In terms of rhetoric from the top, a note of unity.
Yeah, look, it has to come from the top. And like on so many other things, Donald Trump is deficient in this, totally deficient. The day after Charlie Kirk, instead of just bringing Americans together to mourn, and let's forget politics, Ronald Reagan would have done just that. He would have brought together and mourned. Donald Trump's busy pointing.
That's great, dog. Glaze Reagan. Why not?
Pointing fingers before he even had evidence. That doesn't help.
Let's talk about what's happening on the Hill. It looks like we may be moving toward a government shutdown. Can that be averted?
I hope it can. We Democrats definitely want to avert a shutdown. We know how bad it is. And we're asking something very simple, Joe, for the president to sit down and talk with us. You know,
pathetic.
He's not the king.
Unimaginably pathetic. Again, Nuremberg trials would get him as well. This degree of complicity with the administration is just completely unforgivable, man. Completely unforgivable. I've said it a million times before, but the reason the right gets to do whatever they want is because you can be an insanely right-wing conservative and still capitulate to capital. In fact, the two often go along with each other. But the moment you edge even a little bit to the left, you start making the donors nervous. So the only thing Chuck Schumer cares about is making sure the party does not move left. That's it. Every other capitulation is on the table. So you're pre-selecting for people who are very, very, very weak.
Dictate what happened. He said he doesn't need Democrats. Well, then he doesn't know how to count, because there are 60 votes in the Senate that you need to pass this, and he's got 53. And frankly, when I was majority leader...
Oh, take a look at this, by the way. This was from 3 days ago. This was when Chuck Schumer went on CNN. Okay? Look at this. Look at this.
And I hope and pray that Trump will sit down with us and negotiate a bipartisan bill. That's how it's always been done in the past. That's how shutdowns have been avoided in the past.
And if he doesn't, I'm just confirming here, you will vote no. Is that correct?
We are hoping, Dana, we are hoping that he will negotiate with us.
And if he
so
doesn't?
far he hasn't. And we've had 2 bills in the House and Senate, and neither of them have passed. Our Democrats are firm. We need to get something done to relieve the distress the American people are in.
Okay, that sounded like a yes, but you can confirm that, and then I want to move on. Is that accurate?
Yeah. The bottom line is we must
Okay.
get a better bill than what they have.
The last
plain
time-
and simple.
Leader of the Democrats. Leader of the Democrats. And by the way, this is on all of them. Every single Democratic politician who is not openly anti-Chuck Schumer is, as far as I'm concerned, pro-Chuck Schumer. The Democratic Party, if you're a politician, they can't fire you. If you're a House or Senate member and you speak out against Chuck Schumer, the most unpopular politician in the country, you can't be fired. You're not hinging on a job. You can attack him as much as you want. You're allowed to. He talks like this about everything.
You've been asked numerous times if you will endorse Zohran Mamdani for New York City mayor. You always say you're going to continue to talk. There are 2 key questions here that you haven't answered. One is, will you ever endorse him? And 2, what do you need from him to get your endorsement?
Okay, well, first of all, I know him. We've had a good relationship in the past, and we had a good meeting 2 weeks ago, a very long meeting with a lot of serious questions, and all I can tell you is I'm going to continue talking to him.
What's the holdup?
I got to continue talking to him, and that's what I'm going to do.
He's so pathetic that he's actually like irritating her. Normally this Dana, right? Dana? Normally she is like incredibly moderate in how she speaks to these people because, it's her job. She talks to 1 million of them a day, whatever, keep them coming back, But he's actually so feckless that she's like just personally bothering her.
Is part of the calculus that if you endorse a Democratic socialist, you're worried it will be damaging to your party, maybe even your chances of winning back the Senate?
He's trying to pitch a motive like, hey, give me something, give me anything to work with.
I'm going to continue talking to him. Dana, you can ask me again.
Jesus, he's so inhuman. It's crazy. I hate him more than basically any Republican. His internal world is probably indistinguishable from Republicans in that there's like a black void of self-interest where like absolutely anything you can say or do is justified as long as you come out on top. The difference is Republicans are much better at actually enacting that self-interest than he is. Or maybe his self-interest is just in being weak. He's managed to like worm himself into a position where nonstop capitulation to donor groups and lobbyists and what have you is, what positions him best in life. Doesn't matter what happens to the rest of us. As far as he's concerned, we could all die. Schumer's leadership is increasingly toxic among Senate candidates. I don't care, man. I don't care, okay? People need to openly denounce him. Jeffries and Schumer are weak beyond weak. They are like historically weak. Books are going to be written on how weak they are, okay? We're talking like we're beyond like Hindenburg weakness. We're talking like insane, unprecedented levels of weakness. And nobody says anything because nobody can imagine a better world. In Maine, 4 of the Democrats running to unseat the GOP's most vulnerable senator have already pledged not to support Schumer as leader. 3 other candidates refused to commit. Yeah. We'll see when anything happens.
For 4 years, the last 4, we didn't have a shutdown. Why? Because I sat down and talked with Republicans and we compromised. No one got everything they wanted. Donald Trump is the first president we're having a shutdown. As you saw, Hakeem Jeffries and I just made a simple, easy request. Sit down and talk to us. We can probably come to some agreements. There are a lot of people on his side who are upset about what's happening on some of the areas of healthcare, particularly the ACA, but others as well. Just sit and talk with us. So he did say yes. He didn't tell us, but, his press person said yes. And then a day later, yesterday, he says no. And he has this rant.
It's a shame it's advocated for by the most annoying, politically illiterate people in the world, but unfortunately, the Democratic ratchet theory remains tried and tested, The Republicans pull you to the right, the Democrats keep you from moving to the left. Sure does feel that way, at least these days.
About radical Democrats. Is it radical to want people not to have their premiums go up $400 a month, $5,000 a year? Is it radical to tell a mother whose child has cancer that you're not getting treatment anymore and you're going to watch your child die? No, it's not radical. And 68% of Americans think that this big bad bill was wrong on health care. And it's all the Democrats, 2/3 or 3/4 of the Republicans, but a third, of the independents, but a third of the Republicans. So all he's got to do is sit down and talk. It's such a simple request, and I think the American people understand that.
And Leader Schumer, you said as you sat down, you told me that you found out, like the rest of us, that the meeting was canceled yesterday when he posted on Truth Social. Yeah. So we have about a week until the deadline. So what happens now? And obviously there are real world implications to any government shutdown.
Exactly.
There will be federal workers will.
I hope the government just completely shuts down. I don't really care.
But there's also the political aspect of this, yes, and the risk of receiving.
He's stealing Bernie rhetoric by asking rhetorically if things would be radical. Yeah, the entire Democratic establishment did that after 2016. Hillary Clinton did it like very visibly after Bernie Sanders started to do better in the primary. Again, they really do not believe in anything. It's why after Mamdani started to rise up in prominence, there was a whole bunch of discourse about like, well, what if we got like a liberal Mamdani? And a few people tried, but you actually you can't, because in reality, you can't actually totally divorce rhetoric from belief. You can't actually cosplay rhetorically as a radical if you're not a radical.
Yeah, look, it's simple. Ask the Republicans. First, they control the show. They have the presidency, they have the Senate, they have the House. So they're in charge. And God forbid there's a shutdown, which we don't want. American people are going to know they're in charge and say, what the heck? Or worse.
Is there any chance of a meeting happening?
I hope so. We are persisting. Our request to meet with the president is still out there.
Do Republican leaders on the Hill want that meeting to take place, though?
That's a good chuck.
What do you think of John Ossoff? I don't like any of these people. The Democratic Party, its brand, its name is so toxic. I can't even like people who are associated with it at this point. I feel like the Democrats institutionally are so weak and so responsible for where we are right now that the only kind of Democrat I could like would be one who distinguishes themselves loudly from the rest of it, I mean, the rest of it just comes across like a capitulation. It's like, okay, so maybe you're better than Kamala Harris or whatever. Nice low bar there, okay? But you can't be that good because you haven't been speaking up about how bad this shit is. How are you meant to be separate from the muck? Ossoff voted for the Charlie Kirk Memorial Day. Well, there you go.
There's some reports that right now they don't.
Yeah, I still look. The bottom line is there are reports they don't, and we did ask them. The reason we asked them for 2 months, Hakeem and I, to sit down and talk with us. That's what always happens.
Why won't they do that?
Well, we learned why.
Because you're weak and pathetic, and we'll give them whatever they want anyway, and nothing matters, and you don't care anyway, and you're aware of that fact, and you're basically just sitting here with an enormous amount of money and power doing absolutely nothing, and you're fine to keep it that way?
Trump said ignore the Democrats. So I think this really comes from Trump. And they're afraid of him. We haven't seen them buck him. Even if you hear chatter in the gym or as the members talk to each other that what Trump is doing is wrong and bad, they don't buck him. They don't buck him. And he thinks he's king. And you can't be king. And look, the American people are learning about this. The view of Trump is declining because costs are going up, not just healthcare costs. Your energy costs are going to go up because of what was in that BBB bill. If you take wind and solar off the grid, even if you believe in all of the above, you're going to raise electricity prices. The tariffs, they're killing people. I just had one of my colleagues out in Iowa. All the farmers could talk about was how the tariffs were killing them. So people are getting really upset with Donald Trump. And it's because of what he does. He ran.
And yet, somehow, by a significant margin, the Democrats are the less popular of the two parties.
Yesterday, he had a rant at the UN. He had a rant about why he wouldn't sit down with us. He doesn't deal with the issues. He's not being president. He's not up to the job. It's so, excuse me, it's so easy to just sit down and talk to us. And we know we're not going to get everything. But he's not even doing that.
That's a great thing to say when you're at the negotiating table and you want to fight for your constituency. I love saying that shit. I love before the negotiations have even begun, saying, now listen, we're not expecting much. We don't expect that. We know we're not going to get everything we want. In fact, we know you're going to benefit more than us from this.
And the American people are going to say, WTF, why won't he do that? There's no good reason.
I don't know what that stands for, but let me ask you this question regarding approval ratings. I asked Secretary Clinton the same question. I'll ask you. Why is it that the Democrats' approval rating is so low? You talk about Donald Trump, but of course, Democrats' approval rating as a party even lower than his.
Yes.
Why is it, like, for instance, with Hillary Clinton? I think she won the counties bordering Mexico and Texas by 60-plus percentage points.
Yeah.
In 2016, Donald Trump in 2024 won those outright.
Yeah. Well, I think, look, people are upset in general. They don't like the Democrats. They don't like the Republicans. And they...
No, I don't think that really explains a bunch of people shifting over to voting Republican, though. That sounds like a little bit of a weasel answer, you weasel. You piece of shit.
They don't like Trump even more than they don't like the Democrats. But here's what's
That's untrue.
really interesting, Joe.
But the polls don't show that, though. That's my question to
Well, his numbers.
Well, let's not talk about that. It's the only job in the world where you are never held to account for performance. Your job as leader of the Democrats is the well-being of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has not been this unpopular ever in all of American history. There has never been a point where the Democratic Party was this unpopular. This is the worst it has ever been, and not by a small amount. And it's because of him and Jeffries. They're the guys on top. It is not people are generally angry.
Have gotten much, much worse. Today, there's a Ipsos Washington Post poll that shows, I think he's lower than he's been by a considerable amount, and it's going to keep
and far higher than you.
Getting lower as all of these, especially the high costs of living, he's helping cause.
So what do Democrats need to do? What went wrong?
I wish one of them would just look him in the eye and say, you are the most unpopular politician in the country. The Democratic Party has never been this unpopular in its history. Why are you so bad at your job? People want you to leave. You should leave.
Yep.
How did they lose some of their most loyal voters?
Right.
And what do they need to do to turn it around?
What we need to do to turn it around is show working families and everybody that we're on their side. And we are doing that, and we're going to continue to do that over the next several months. We have to keep hitting Trump, but we have to show we're on their side. And frankly, to win the elections, we have to recruit good candidates. I am optimistic about us actually taking back the Senate much more now than before, because really fine candidates are stepping up to the plate. And one more point on all those polls, even though
like Mamdani? No, not like that. We're gonna look at it soon, by the way, but Kamala Harris is doing her campaigning for presumably her next presidential run, and she immediately smears Mamdani. Not directly, but indirectly, as soon as the question is pitched to her. So, you can get ready for that, I guess.
Democrats' numbers are low. When you ask people, who do you prefer, a Democratic senator or a Republican senator? We did it in the 6th battleground.
Kamala said she isn't going to run, and I don't believe her. We'll see if she does. We have a few more years.
States, which were +2, +3 overall, so it's not a Democratic or independent survey. 47-39, they prefer Democrats. And in a couple of the races where we have the two candidates, we win. So the people want to see what Democrats will do for them if we get in, but they also are really leery and dubious of Trump and the Republicans who follow him even more so.
So what is the main message for Democrats?
How do we fix this? We can't directly oust Chuck Schumer, but supporting Chuck Schumer should be as toxic to Democrats as openly supporting Donald Trump. Unfortunately, Democrats are so weak that they still coalition with Fetterman, who is openly pro-Trump. So what are you going to do? The Democrats have no standard, no bar. There's nothing they won't support. They're the most pathetic, spineless wretches in the universe. A bunch of them voted for the Charlie Kirk Memorial Bill. They are unbelievably bad.
There's so many different criticisms that they could be taking on right now, from free speech to name it. But what's the message Democrats should focus on to bring it
The positive message is very simple. When I was growing up...
Why would you ever take advice from this guy? He's objectively the worst to have ever done it. We empirically, he is the worst ever in leading Democrat support. Should do the opposite of whatever he suggests.
You ask the average American, what is the next 10 years going to be like?
Remember, when he says average American, and he's talked about this, what he means is a family of Republicans that he's concocted in his head that he has imaginary conversations with to justify the positions he already believed in. He has talked about this.
Average person would say, if I work hard, I'm going to be doing better 10 years from now than I'm doing today, and my kids will do still better than me. People don't say that now, particularly younger people. Why? High costs for groceries and everything else. We have a lot of food monopolies here that we have to go after. Second, housing. You can't afford a house. When my wife and I bought our first home, it was a co-op. The down payment was like 4%. It's now 25 or 30%. We have to do much more on that. So we have to get costs down. We have to deal with housing. We have to get better health care for people. Taking away...
None of which they're going to do or are able to do. It's just meaningless. Every single politician would say this. Every politician would say we need to bring costs down. Like fascists would say that. No one disagrees with this. Trump brags about bringing costs down.
The healthcare is politically very much the wrong thing to do. So we have to be really strong about a good future. We have to be really strong about how bad Trump is for people's future. Affordability. That's correct.
So, Leader Schumer, I want to follow up what Mika said about free speech. Obviously, we've been talking a lot this morning about Jimmy Kimmel's return to the airwaves last night.
He did a beautiful thing. He was measured, he was calm, but he was strong, and he didn't duck the issue one bit.
So when Kimmel was...
What the f*** are you talking about, man?
Taken off the air, there was a lot of storylines. Well, it's a business decision. These affiliates are trying to get this merger done, etc. But last night, right around the time Kimmel came back, that show aired, President Trump went on Truth Social and made it plain that that he does not think he should be on the air.
This is spoilers. We'll get to this in a bit. I don't know. I just wanted to remind you guys you should hate Democrats. It's really bad. Oh, it's both of them, by the way. Here's of course, that's the Senate minority leader. Here's the House minority leader.
When Trump was president last time, Speaker Pelosi, and she was Speaker, Democrats were in the majority, she seemed to relish going toe-to-toe with him on a daily basis. Do you relish the fight with Donald Trump?
Look at that face.
I think it's an incredibly important fight for the American people, and I'm just not clear why Donald Trump is backing away from that fight.
Nothing going on up here. Man, it is true, though, that Pelosi was 1,000 times better than what she left behind. It's crazy to think we could have gone down from that point, but it turns out that, cynical, evil, but competent is a lot better than... I don't even know how cynical Jeffries is. I think he's really stupid. Really just, low IQ. I genuinely, a lot of the way... Schumer is an evil void, okay? Hakeem Jeffries is a fish man. He's an Innsmouth... citizen. I genuinely don't know how aware he is of what's going on around him.
He agreed to the meeting. We demanded it on Saturday. Leader Schumer and I sent a letter laying out our position very clearly as it relates to government funding and the health care of the American people.
That's great. Wonderful stuff. There is no future. Not with these people leading it. Certainly not.